Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Roxanne Murphy, and I'm the Council President Pro Tem. Pinky Vargas is our president, but she wasn't feeling so hot this afternoon, but she's hoping to be back by this evening. So I'm happy to convene our afternoon committee sessions. Our first session is Public Works, Public Safety, and that is chaired by Councilmember Borneman.
Thank you, Roxanne. We have one item before our committee today. Joining me on the committee is Gene Knutson and Roxanne Murphy. The item we have is a resolution changing 8th Street to one-way northbound between McKenzie and Harris Avenue in Fairhaven.
Thank you, Mr. Borneman. My name is Eric Johnston. I'm with the Public Works Department. I ask you to excuse Ted Carlson. He is occupied in an arbitration discussion this afternoon, so he's not available today. Renee LaCroix is here, as well as Steve Sundin, to help answer questions you might have about this particular issue. So staff is proposing with this agenda bill to a resolution for council consideration to modify 8th Street from McKenzie to Harris to be one-way directional northbound as part of the city project to install the water quality treatment facility at 8th and Harris. And this was discussed at the council prior to the first of the year and was reverted back to a committee discussion today, so we're here to talk about the resolution again. In the intervening time period, the city staff have met with the Fairhaven Neighborhood Association. Both Renee, Steve, and myself were able to participate in their board meeting last week. We were also able to have several conversations with some interested individuals about questions they may have had. And we would like to just briefly summarize where we started from, where we are at today with this particular question. So starting back in 2005, there was a development proposal at the property between 8th and 9th, south of Harris Avenue, to do some development of that currently vacant piece of property. And as part of that development application, they went through the standard process, and a shoreline permit was issued by the city. That permit issuance was subsequently appealed, and a settlement was reached between the developers, the city, and two interested private parties, notably SUCON and the Fairhaven Neighborhood Association. As part of that settlement agreement, as part of that process, the city agreed that they would close 8th Avenue through traffic, but would make provisions to allow for emergency vehicle access and service vehicles to use that as an avenue to provide for some circulation. There were things tied to the developer that would then, the settlement agreement required that at some point the developer would get his project done and then ask for the pavement to be removed by the city. As the development never moved forward, that project did not proceed, the development did not occur, and therefore the street was never removed. So even though it was by council resolution was classified as a closed street, the street remained open to traffic as the actions by the developer never took place. So it remained in status quo as a two-way functioning street. In around 2011, the development permit rights lapsed, and that project did not proceed forward, and consequently those permit rights also lapsed and became void. In 2014, the city started looking at a potential to do water quality projects, and one in particular being here at 8th and Harris, as part of an overall approach to dealing with water quality as part of the Paden Creek estuary, Paden Creek daylighting, and Paden Creek water quality improvements in that particular part of town. We pursued a grant, a grant or a loan, I forget. A grant and loan from the Department of Ecology to install a water treatment device here at 8th and Harris, and were successful in that application. So we then proceeded with the project and went through the design portion and the public outreach portion and applied for the necessary permits to install the water quality device there at 8th and Harris. That public process and that permitting process occurred in early in 2015. A permit was issued by the city. That permit was duly noticed and submitted for comment to the public as well as to the Department of Ecology. That permit was subsequently approved for the construction of the water quality feature. Now that water quality feature or structure will treat roughly 90 acres of impervious area within the Fairhaven area. And while we would prefer, I think generally speaking as a policy, to try to avoid end-of-pipe solutions, this is a practical solution for this particular area. It's not, it's the best option we have given the constraints that we have for this particular portion of town. It's a highly urbanized environment, it's highly built out, and trying to find ways to do on-site solutions given the topography, the ground conditions, the demands for urban services within that area, trying to find a compromise that would meet the city's needs and desires to provide water quality with meeting current urban services, that was a difficult thing to do, but this water quality structure with infiltration at 8th and Harris was the best approach to be able to manage that. Ecology agreed with that and subsequently approved the grants and the loans, and subsequently also approved the project engineering plans for the construction of that facility. The permits that were issued by the city for the construction included a standard requirement for city projects to restore and put back as is the condition of the street. So that would have resulted in the street being put back as a two-way street with roughly 20 to 22 feet of pavement along that 8th Street right-of-way. That occurred early in 2015. The city did issue that project for bidding. That project was under construction in September of this year and is proceeding reasonably well. In September of 2015, a new owner, developer of that particular piece of property between 8th and 9th, approached the city with a pre-development application that started the conversations up again about how do we deal with the improvements along 8th Avenue. And as part of that conversation, city staff internally, that included planning staff, public works staff, natural resources staff, all of the development interested parties within the city, including parks and the fire department, met to discuss how do we deal with this development application and the needs of the city, given all of the issues that we have to address in terms of policy and the previous settlement agreement, and talked about many different things. We finally, as staff, came up with a recommendation to leave 8th open to one-way traffic, to provide for the regular maintenance needs of the city, to provide for the service vehicle needs of the city, provide for adequate fire access, and to maintain the circulation in the city. At the same time, recognizing that we're able to protect the water quality by providing treatment for the runoff generated from that particular road, which was different than it was in 2005 because those water quality features would not have been present. So the difference, a real big difference, a long story, and you get back to your point, is that in 2005 there were no water quality features. In 2015, we have not only done the Padden Creek estuary improvements on the water side, we're doing the water quality improvements in the Fairhaven. We've done the Padden Creek daylighting and other water quality improvements in that general area, and so things have changed slightly. Would we like to do more? Yes, but this is kind of where we're at right now. But in order to maintain that common circulation and meet the needs of the city overall, are recommending that the council consider revising the resolution from 2006 and allowing for 8th Street to be open to one-way traffic northbound. This would be limited to not allowing parking on 8th Avenue, not allowing access to the property from 8th Avenue. It is a good balance between all of the policy interests and needs of the city and the practicality of keeping city streets functioning and preserving and protecting the water quality in the Padden Creek area as well. So the recommendation is for the council to consider the proposed resolution, and would be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Gene?
Did that come out of the meeting you had with the neighbors over in Fairhaven too? Your recommendation?
Our recommendation was made prior to our meeting with the Fairhaven board.
How did that meeting go?
I think it went fairly well. There's some folks here from that board as well. Ms. Barker was there as well. One thing that I did not mention is that we will be doing a pre and post, or not a pre and post, but a traffic count this summer on the street. If the council approves the street to be a one-way street northbound, we'll do a traffic count this summer and a second traffic count later in 2017 to see if there's how much volume is actually on that street. One of the things that I didn't mention is that whether it's open to through traffic or open to just one-way traffic, the street configuration will look the same. There will be about 12 feet of pavement between curbs. There will be an 8-foot sidewalk on the east side and an access area to the water quality facility on the west side. But whether the street is open to traffic or not, they will look the same. The difference will be whether we install a gate to prohibit the regular through traffic on that street or not.
Okay. So what's the...
Well, I'll go ahead and move approval
Okay.
of the recommendation.
Okay, any comments on? Okay, we have a motion before us. All those in favor, answer aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, we will recommend approval to the full committee tonight. Thank you very much. And that's the end of the committee.
We'll take a brief break.